From Luginsland, cut Zornhau with a passing step to the side. Wind left, turn the long edge up, thrust with another passing step. Turning the long edge up positions the nagel to keep the opposing blade away from your hand when you deliver the thrust. Stepping offline makes it easier for you to cover your own line and more difficult for your opponent to cover their line. Zornhau with a turn of the body, wind and thrust with a passing step. When winding left, turn the long edge up, letting the nagel protect your hand. When winding right, turn the long edge right, letting the crossguard protect your hand. Turning the body should not be seen as entirely separate from the step. The turn will, among other things, push weight off your rear leg, which you will need to do anyway in order to lift the rear foot and make the passing step. Zwinger is the master strike in Messer that corresponds to Stork in longsword. It's a vertical descending cut that hits with the short edge. Use a thumb grip for this cut. When used, you are sacrificing some range in order to make it easier to push the opponent's blade aside. Lecküchner gives Zwinger very little attention, only a single page. The text doesn't mention footwork explicitly, but from the illustration it looks like a hip turn is used. Zwinger with a hip turn, thrust with a passing step. The mechanics of the cut and the thumb grip will often give you a good opportunity to thrust from the bind. The nagel will keep your opponent's blade away from your hand as you thrust, and may sometimes also help push the opponent's blade out of position. Zwinger with a passing step forward. This is the same cut as before, but with a more aggressive footwork option. Zwinger with a passing step to the side. Stepping offline makes it easier for you to cover your own line and more difficult for your opponent to cover their line. Thrusts from Bastei. Even though the point is offline in Bastei, moving it online is very quick. Thrusting can be done with both advancing footwork and retreating footwork. Practicing this is relevant for things like Ansetzen on 37R to 38V and the Bastei thrust place on 200R to 202V. From Bastei, thrust with a passing step forward. Make sure to get the messer in front of you before your body moves forward. Turn the long edge toward the opponent's messer. From Bastei, thrust with a passing step back. Turn the long edge toward the opponent's messer. This is quite similar to Stork's Beak on 189V and 190R, although there Lecküchner has us starting with a point on line instead. From left Schrankhut, launch left Wecker. Make a passing step to the side, wind the long edge right and thrust. A thrust is a good Wecker follow-up when you get a good bind, whereas if you knock the opponent's messer out of the way, a cut is a better follow-up. This is similar to one of the plays on 16R. High and low Entrüsthau. If the high Entrüsthau was parried, immediately go for the arm with the low one, as the arm is quite likely to become exposed after the first parry. Even if the second Entrüsthau is a low one, your health needs to stay high, otherwise you will lose the protection from above that the proper Entrüsthau gives you. Another advantage with Entrüsthau is that it is easy to target all 4 openings with it, which makes it easy to vary targeting and continue to the next opening when you are parried.